Konnichiwa, and a special hello to our friends at the Rental Storage Association in Japan for your AGM. I'm Andrew Work, the Executive Director of the Self Storage Association Asia. I'm like the Yoshida-san for the rest of Asia, just much less handsome. But I was very happy to see many of you at the recent Self Storage Expo Asia held in Tokyo in May. It was our biggest ever by the number of delegates and sponsors. The support that we received from the Japanese self-storage community was tremendous, and our community from across Asia were touched by the warm welcome. The RSA leadership delivered in bringing the community together. We had weekly meetings leading up to the event, and in particular, Yoshida-san, Stephen Spohn, and Mayu Watanabe from Curaz, and Dan Murasaku from Ichigo were on the line every week with my colleagues and I to make sure the event was a success. As I said, many companies supported this from the Japanese community, and in particular, I'd like to thank them, self-storage companies, and our supporters. They included JLL, Sene, Palma, CBRE, Mitsuroku, Area Link, Curaz, Private Box, of course, part of KO Logistics, Extra Space Self-Storage, and Root. So thank you to all of those companies for your strong support. Now, I've been asked to make some comments about the industry in Asia outside Japan, as I usually do for this meeting. Our Asia includes everywhere from Japan to West Asia, with members in Dubai and Jordan, and soon Saudi Arabia. I think those of you that were in the expo got to see the presentation from our Saudi colleagues. That country is on the verge of really growing self-storage as major domestic companies have decided to enter the business. Others in the region are looking into opening in Saudi Arabia as well. I'm not sure if there are opportunities for Japanese investors or self-storage companies to get involved, like Mitsuroku did when they went into Singapore, Malaysia, and Hong Kong through General Storage, or like when Ichigo invested in Taiwan. But if you're interested, come talk to us. We'll see what we can do. But we do hope that those in West Asia will be able to conduct their business in a peaceful environment in the future. As I film this, that future seems very uncertain. We hope the best there for the people in that region, and that we hope their future holds more self-storage and less conflict. Coming across, looking to the east, India, it's in a bit of a holding pattern, perhaps a bit flat right now, not too much to report. There's good news in Singapore, as we have resolved our issues with the Singapore government that was blocking expansion. But during that time, rising demand and constrained supply meant prices went up, which is good for profits. But many of our biggest players had received investment and were expected to expand, and now they can. Part of our efforts to move forward involved convincing the government and the public that self-storage has an important role to play for small businesses, whether they are startups or long established. That message has been well received, and we're pleased to see that recent media coverage really leans hard into promoting the idea that self-storage is crucial for the vitality of the economy, and especially for e-commerce businesses that start small, but they can grow using self-storage. Thailand is booming as major players have received funding to expand. I can't give you too many details on what's coming, but it seems like that investment is going to continue. This has also convinced new independent operators to get into the game as self-storage spreads beyond the capital of Bangkok. And it is now popping up in Phuket, Pattaya, and other modernizing cities that are outgrowing their previous roles as just tourist destinations. New residents include high-tech workers who could live anywhere in the world, but choose to adopt the tropical lifestyles as airport connections, education, and other amenities improve. Hong Kong is okay. Our previous wave of investment from major institutional investors has resulted in a rapid expansion of supply that has perhaps outstripped demand for now. If you are a consumer of self-storage, you can get some ridiculous deals right now. It's a bit the opposite of Singapore. Now, as an association, we try to remind everyone not to ruin the market with excessive discounting. However, you all know that a new empty site can make everyone feel very uncomfortable. And so, discounting. Mm. Now, the building has stopped, and we anticipate rising demand to catch up to supply at some point. The past couple of weeks have seen some surprising real estate deals in the hard hit commercial real estate and retail real estate spaces. The American finance company Jane Street has just signed the biggest ever commercial lease spacing deal in the history of Hong Kong. French fashion house Louis Vuitton just signed up for a huge flagship store in Kowloon, perhaps their biggest in Asia. And the Hong Kong Stock Exchange has hosted the world's biggest IPO this year, Chinese battery maker CATL, for 5.3 billion US dollars. And the exchange has a strong pipeline of new deals coming. So it may be that Hong Kong's on the comeback trail. Chinese self-storage is blowing up, and we have been surprised by how many new players there are. However, like a lot of Chinese industry these days, the sector is ferociously competitive, and we get the feeling that margins are very, very thin. You might have heard a similar story about other Chinese industries like, say, electric vehicles. Booming, innovative, but tiny, tiny, tiny margins if they aren't losing money. In China, a semi-government body is aiming to create national standards that the industry is collaborating to create. My colleagues and I have sat in on some of these meetings. National standards will help operators so they can avoid a messy patchwork of local rules. One set of rules from Beijing means the local jurisdictions will have to fall in line, and operators will have clear rules to play by. Korea is a bit of an odd one. We understand that some big companies, by which I mean big for Korean self-storage, local operators are lobbying the government to create rules so that only micro sites will be allowed. It seems like this is their effort to avoid competition from potential international firms with better funding that could build bigger and more efficient sites. However, it means that even local firms will be doomed to stay small and inefficient and less profitable. So that can be a very short-sighted move. But frankly, while Koreans may be very advanced in autos, semiconductors, and mobile phones, their self-storage industry has little outside contact with the rest of the self-storage world, and so their vision is probably quite limited. This stands in contrast to Japanese, Chinese, Singaporean, Thai, and other Asian operators who take a broader worldview, and they appreciate getting education about the best of the best in the world in self-storage. We saw that in the expo, and a lot of the delegates got to learn about what was happening in Japan. I don't want to say too much about Japan. That's your thing. But there is some talk outside of Japan that the market seems to be becoming more attractive, and a change in the interest rate environment and the growth environment may change the outlook in a way that more outside investors may want to join the Japanese market. In other words, you're looking good, Japanese self-storage. Outside of a regional roundup, two things stand out. One, wine storage is taking off. Now, it is infrastructure intensive for the extra climate control, but it is very, very, very popular. In wine crazy places like Hong Kong and Singapore, they tend to fill up almost instantly. In terms of technology, I would say the fastest spreading technology being adopted is algorithmic dynamic pricing. Call it AI, if you will. It is becoming more widespread, and it is leading to smarter, more profitable pricing. It works for airlines and hotels, and now in Asia, self-storage. Electronic locks have made some inroads, and I think we'll see more, but it isn't a runaway success, more of a slow burn. Given my limited time, this is a very light treatment of the topic of what's happening in Asian self-storage outside of Japan. We, of course, will get updated numbers later in the year when the SSAA and RSA self-storage survey is undertaken. We're working hard to make the survey easier to complete, so it's easier for you to fill out, and we can get better data. And we always appreciate deeply the operators in Japan taking the time to complete the survey to the best of their ability. So in the meantime, I wish you all the best, and I'm trying to see if I can make it to Yokohama later in the year. I have been to Yokohama, and I appreciate the exotic influences there that make me feel at home, given I'm from Hong Kong. So keep on doing your best to support the people and businesses of Japan by giving them the best storage options that you can. Ogenki day. We'll see you soon. Thanks.